So, the playoffs for the Buccaneers. They definitely gave me some roller coaster rides all throughout. Now, if you don't know this by now, we are in the NFC Conference Championship in a few days from now, going up against the Green Bay Packers, who went 13 and 3 on the season, while we're sitting pretty at 11 and 5, with a close win against the New Orleans Saints in the divisional round. But we wouldn't have got to that point had we not taken out the Washington football team in the NFC wildcard playoffs. So let me just go ahead and get you guys a little recap of what's going on and how we got up to this point and what to look for in the game coming forward. So, a couple weeks in the past from now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveled up to Washington to take on Washington on their home turf. Tom Brady came in gunslinging, blazing, throwing 381 yards for 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he was sacked 3 times all throughout the game. Meanwhile, the Washington quarterback Taylor Heinicke, who came in relief to a injured reserve Alex Smith, came in, tossed up 306 yards for a touchdown and an interception made by Sean Murphy Bunting, which definitely put us in prime position to stretch out our lead for the half, which we did. We ended up scoring 9 points each on our first and second quarters, while Washington scored only a touchdown to make it an 18-7 game at half. Then in the third quarter, Washington scored 9 more points to cut the lead down 18-16. But then our offense came through in the fourth quarter, put up 13 more points to go up 31 to 23 towards the end of the game because Washington answered with a touchdown. Some of our key players in the game were, of course, Tom Brady for his 2 touchdown passes to Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, who rushed 19 for 93 yards and a touchdown, Mike Evans, who came up in big situations in the game for 6 receptions and 119 yards. And while not the greatest, our defense definitely kept us in the game long enough to hold on to our lead. Levante David came in with a sack. Sean Murphy Bunting had a half tackle for a loss and an interception. And Anthony Nelson also had a sack. And outside of that, that was the only defensive pressure we could get on Taylor Heinicke, who turned out to be a really good scrambler as he was the lead rusher for Washington, going 6 for 46 yards and a touchdown. And J.D. McKissick also got 2 rushes, 5 yards, and a touchdown. In the passing game, Steven Sims Jr. had 3 receptions, 33 yards, and a touchdown. We could not cover Cam Sins, who had 7 receptions for 104 yards. But thankfully, when it all said and done, it was a pretty clean game despite the fumble by Keyshawn Vaughn that was lost and recovered by John Bostic and Cameron Braid, who fumbled out of bounds. Our kicking game was pretty good. We went 4 for 4 on field goals, but had an extra point blocked. So you wonder why it's not 32-23. That's why, in the grand scheme of things. That allowed us to go up to New Orleans in the divisional playoffs and get a win 30-20. And New Orleans, pretty much out of the gate, was just driving down the field. We were able to hold them to a couple field goals, but man, our special teams in that game had some rough starting to deal with. We were lucky we didn't give up a touchdown on one punt return by Devontae Harris due to an illegal block in the back. Tom Brady in that game threw for a meager 199 yards, which is sub-average for him, and 2 touchdowns. He was sacked only once in the entire game. Drew Brees came in, threw 134 yards, had 1 touchdown, but thankfully we intercepted him 3 times and Jameis Winston came in for a trick play to put the Saints up against us. One play for 56 yards and a touchdown, which was caught by Traquan Smith. Leonard Fournette was definitely getting his rushing yards. In the end of things, he had 17 carries, 63 yards. No rushing touchdowns, but he did have a receiving touchdown. And Mike Evans' only reception for a touchdown came against somebody who has covered him for far too long and has had a lot of experience covering him, Marshawn Lattimore. And that's something I loved seeing because Marshawn Lattimore's had Mike Evans' number all throughout his career. And just for him to catch that fade touchdown against him, it really instilled some sort of realism into him that he's not always going to have his way as a shutdown cornerback, and that was fine by me. Tom Brady also had a quarterback sneak in for a touchdown up in the fourth quarter, and all three of our touchdowns came in the form of turnovers by the Saints because they had one fumble which Devin White recovered. It went for a touchdown. Then two interceptions. Sean Murphy Bunting returned one. Devin White returned another. They both went for touchdowns to put us up by 10 in the fourth quarter. And as Drew Brees was trying to drive down the field, get the game back into a 3-point range, Mike Edwards came up with the glorious interception that put us in the NFC Conference Championship. Leonard Fournette rushed to pretty much seal the deal. And Drew Brees, all I have to say is enjoy retirement. It was nice knowing you in your lonely Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to go to Green Bay and pretty much just scorch them in the passing game. And we certainly got the defensive keys needed to stop guys like Devontae Adams. Their lines weakened without David Bakhtiari, so pass rushing Aaron Rodgers should be easier. Devin White is pretty much lined up all around the field. I'm surprised he didn't get Pro Bowl honors with the way he was playing. He had one fumble recovery, one interception, and a multitude of tackles throughout the game. He's Defensive Player of the Week, no question about it, for his efforts. So, it'll be nice to see Devin White storming down the field, getting some sacks on Aaron Rodgers, maybe forcing some turnovers. And this should be a pretty easy win for us. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Buccaneers win 27-13 in the conference championship. And we have a good path to the Super Bowl where we'll face either the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, who might be missing Patrick Mahomes on Sunday. So look out for that, and hopefully the Bucs will win and move on to the Super Bowl, because then the real fun starts. And Tom Brady might be getting his 7th ring in our stadium.